Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Africa News with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, there's a narrow escape for several girls who managed to leap off a truck after 100 schoolgirls are abducted by Islamist extremists in northeastern Nigeria. Soldiers are now trying to track the kidnappers. Also, Rwandan authorities say they've arrested 4 people who are plotting on attacking key leaders in revenge for the assassination of an exiled opposition figure. A top musician is amongst those accused. And relations between the two Congos are strained by accusations from DR Congo migrants that they've been roughed up by authorities in Brazzaville as they were kicked out of the country. First up, a journalist, a top musician and a former soldier are amongst the 4 people Rwandan police say were plotting to carry out terror attacks in revenge for the assassination of an exiled opposition figure. Detectives claim that the suspects plan to target allies of President Paul Kagame. Nicholas Romain tells us more.
Kizito Mihigo, one of Rwanda's most famous singers, in handcuffs. In a recent song, this genocide survivor mentioned crimes committed by the RPF, the ruling party. He was arrested with 3 other people accused of wanting to carry out grenade attacks and threatening state security.
We held conversations in which we criticized the government. That's all. I had no other role, but I hope I will have more time to speak about this later on.
The police said he was close to Patrick Karegeya, an opposition leader who was killed in January in South Africa. Rwanda did not claim responsibility for this murder, but soon after, President Paul Kagame said treason had consequences. Rwanda's media commission said it was concerned with another of the 4 suspects, the journalist Cassien Tamuhanga, who first went missing on April the 7th. The police said it only arrested him on Monday, but the commission remains skeptical.
If Rio was detained, arrested on 7th of April, we consider that as a illegal detention. If he was in the hands of police system, I don't think that police has the right to go beyond 72 hours, according to the law.
The arrest took place as Rwanda marked the 20th anniversary of the genocide. At the time, Paul Kagame's rebel army stopped the massacres. But in recent years, he has been increasingly criticized by NGOs like Human Rights Watch for suppressing political dissent.
Several teenagers managed to escape from the back of an open truck after gunmen abducted over 100 young girls from a school in northeastern Nigeria. Islamist extremist group Boko Haram suspected of being behind the dawn raid in Chibok near the Sambisa forest. They've often launched bloody attacks on schools in the past, and all schools in Borno State were closed 3 weeks ago because of the militants ramping up of violence, while the young women were reportedly only called back to take their final exams. Boko Haram has been blamed for the deaths of more than 1,500 people this year alone. Aminu Abubakar is in Kano in the north. He tells us that there's still some uncertainty about exactly how many young people were kidnapped and how many escaped.
At the moment, it's still uncertain how many girls were kidnapped by Boko Haram, but what is certain is that there are more than 100, because according to parents who have been the source of all the information we've been receiving, is that there were more than 200 girls at the time and the school and who were attending their finals. And Boko Haram came up at night and took them away after a gun duel with the military personnel station there to guard the school. But then only about a dozen of them were able to escape from the abductors. I mean, which means that there are over 100, at least over 100 of them now in custody of the insurgents.
Now, Aminu, the fact that Boko Haram launched this attack, even whilst there's security at the school, suggests that they're pretty confident in facing down Nigerian soldiers who are being placed to try and combat their attacks.
It's obvious that Boko Haram are better armed, better organized, and better motivated than the military. Although the government has been downplaying, that, and have been trying to deny, that reality. But it's known to everyone. Even the governor of Borno State, some weeks ago, came out to say that the federal government needed to do more to arm its soldiers. Who are outgunned by Boko Haram. And of course, given the brazen, deadly attacks being carried out by Boko Haram, and they have been overrun of the Nigerian military, and it's an indication that they are better armed and better motivated.
Aminu Abubakar there for us. Now, the leader of South Sudan's rebels, Riek Machar, has vowed to attack the capital, Juba, and warned that the country's violent civil crisis will not end unless President Salva Kiir is removed from power. After 5 months of battling, Machar's fighters claim that they have recaptured the key oil town of Bentiu. It's one of the most bitterly contested regions in the conflict, and the army denies the rebels have gotten the upper hand there. On Tuesday, rebels issued an ultimatum to oil companies, warning them to end production within a week or risk attack on installations and staff. Battling's left thousands dead and forced around 1 million people from their homes. The war of words between Algeria's president and his main rival in Thursday's upcoming leadership elections has ramped up. Ali Benflis has hit back at President Abdelaziz Bouteflika's accusations that the former prime minister has been inciting violence and been committing terrorism via the television. Benflis has been increasingly vocal in alleging that the 77-year-old incumbent is rigging the vote to guarantee a fourth term in office. The presidential hopeful says he's mobilizing 60,000 supporters to monitor the polls and has condemned the ailing Bouteflika's criticism of him, calling it irresponsible.
They accused us of being terrorists when we spoke of corruption and fraud. But isn't fraud itself a form of terrorism? These unjust and baseless accusations just show how panicked and afraid the irresponsible people who made them are.
Jordan's ambassador to Libya was kidnapped on Tuesday by gunmen demanding that an Islamist militant be released from a Jordanian prison. The attackers shot and wounded Ambassador Fawaz al-Itan's driver as the ambassador was snatched from a street in Tripoli. They've demanded Mohamed Dersi be freed. The Libyan was jailed for life in 2007 for plotting to blow up an airport. While kidnappings of foreign officials in Libya are becoming increasingly frequent, since the start of the year, 5 Egyptian diplomats and a Tunisian have been abducted. Relations between the two Congos have been strained by accusations that Brazzaville is unceremoniously kicking out migrants from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Since April 5th, hundreds have been arrested and forced to leave, many accusing authorities of having severely mistreated them in the process. Brazzaville says they're criminal suspects. The deportees say they're victims. Amy Marinella has the story.
For 99 of these passengers, crossing the Congo River is the end of a nightmare. Like hundreds of other people originally from DR Congo, they have just been thrown out of Brazzaville. They say they've been victims of a general crackdown on legal and illegal migrants from the DR Congo, who are suspected of causing insecurity in Brazzaville. They tell of brutal arrests and detention in degrading conditions.
In the central prison, there were 2 rooms. In one of them, they had packed 500 people from Kinshasa. We couldn't breathe. There was no air. Some of us died of suffocation. I counted 15 victims. It is unacceptable.
This has been going on for 10 days. The migrants arrive in Kinshasa and tell their story to the port staff. Then they leave, empty-handed, towards an uncertain future. Some of them had been living in Brazzaville for years, and they've lost everything.
The police arrested me in my home. They took my money, my phones, my television, started hitting my wife. My children started crying. We're very disappointed.
Diplomatic sources say tension is high between the two countries. The accusations are serious, but the government in Kinshasa played the crisis down.
There was no need to take this out into the public and to start insulting the Congolese authorities in order to stand up for our compatriots. We did what was needed to be done. The ambassador to Kinshasa was summoned. 2 ministers went to Brazzaville. A commission with members from both countries was set up to look into the allegations of abuse. Arrests were made. I think this is what efficiency is.
It's not clear whether this investigation could lead to the prosecution of those responsible. Meanwhile, nearly 2,000 migrants from the DR Congo have already been thrown out of Brazzaville.
Well, finally, forget expensive music videos to create a buzz for the latest hits. A video of Ugandan kids rocking out is becoming an online favourite for fans of their chosen tune, Sitya Loss. Well, we'll leave you with them, and we'll be back with more African news tomorrow. Stay with us. Take care.